So here's an example of some of the products that I'm using to get the nasty old grease lube off of the chains that we run on our mountain bikes. The process is essentially I clean my chain and my rear cassettes in this degreaser mixed like 3 parts water, hot water, to 1 part degreaser in a little bucket like this. And actually I have different colored buckets, so I remember which one is which. And I'll do that 2, maybe 3 times. Sometimes I gotta use one of these little scrubby brush things to get the dirt and grease off. Now after that, I give it a water rinse, dry the chain thoroughly with some paper towel, and the white paper towel gives you an idea of how much garbage that's still on it. Then I use some of this mineral spirits, which is where we are right now with this. So this chain has been sitting in mineral spirits for a few days, only because I am waiting for some of my Molten Speed Wax that I ordered to get here. Now I do the chain and I do the master link, and I also do the cassettes in this stuff, and it usually is really good at getting it clean. Now because of the bigger cassette, sometimes I have to use a container that's like this big just to fit the 42 or the 46 ring at the bottom. Now in the US, I've seen this 0 or low odor mineral spirits, which is really nice stuff, but for some reason here in Toronto, all I can find is just regular mineral spirits, and the big box stores have no idea what I'm talking about. Even though the same version in the US, Lowe's, Home Depot, for example, do carry the low odor stuff. They just don't seem to know about it here. Now the last step, which is the one that lets you know just how clean things are, is washing the chain in the rubbing alcohol. Look, I I really like using 99%. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find, so 91% will do. But I'm saving this one in mineral spirits for now, because I noticed on one of my chains, I left it sitting in the alcohol for a day and it started to rust. Usually this should be no more than a couple of minutes, like 30 minutes to an hour. And if you want to see how clean it really does get, this is a good indicator, because here's an example. Try to get you a good light view. Here's all the crap that comes out of the chain on the first pass, even after I did it. I cleaned it with mineral spirits and the degreaser. So you know you're doing a good job when your chain, the rubbing alcohol, is clean. So that's the first step in getting this stuff all taken care of. You see the video with the clean chain that I waxed with some white lightning. The cassette, nice and clean. The front chain ring is nice and clean. What I will do is post some video of me cleaning the chain with mineral spirits, just to give you an idea of how much scrubbing has to go on. And I'll put a couple of pictures up of the Molten Speed Wax. For some reason, white lightning has become very difficult to find and source into Canada. So I think while I wait for the Molten Speed Wax to get here, I will actually, if I have to, simply paraffin wax the chains in a crock pot, because it's really easy to get rid of the paraffin wax. If you want, you just pour hot water on the chain while it's sitting in a little colander. Wax is all gone. When I get the Molten Speed Wax, mix it in and put the chains back in, and I have coated chains. One of the things I'm going to experiment with is making a liquid version of the Molten Speed Wax with some rubbing alcohol so to suspend the speed wax. There are no shortage of how to wax your chain videos. The Oz Cyclist is a good reference. He even shows you how to make wax with PTFE. Issue is trying to buy Teflon powder now. It seems to be, 6 million weeks before you can get anything from anybody online. I don't know whether this is because of this COVID-19 issue that's occurring throughout the world. Quite possible. Also, He shows you how to make his paraffin wax PTFE mix in a liquid form, so if you need to top up your chain. But it's far superior to these liquids. These are oil lubes. Extends the life of your chain, easy to clean because it doesn't really pick up the dirt. And if you have to re-wax your chain, you know, you can use the liquid top up, or you pop the master links, drop it in some hot wax, back on the bike, and you're off and running. So there's no reason for not doing it. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys find this useful. Any comments, as usual, in the section below. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I'll try to help out. Have a good day. See you on the trails. So a while back, some infinite wisdom wise bike mechanic told a friend of mine that using wax on chains on your mountain bikes was a bad thing because the wax went everywhere and it you couldn't get it out, and it would be better to use one of those oil-based lubricants. Well, that turned out to be a crock, because my experience is these bike chains get completely coated in this dust and dirt that everything goes black. You get all the chainring tattoos all over you. It grinds down your chain. You end up more damage to your cassette and your chainring than anything else. So I've decided to switch back to wax after doing a little bit of research online. It's proven to be much superior, longer lasting, and more effective method of lubricating and preserving your chain and your cassette and your chain rings. So I've had to go through a process where I've basically pulled the chain and the cassettes off our bikes. I have soaked them in hot, soapy, like Tide detergent water, scrubbed them with a brush a couple of times actually. Then I put them into some degreaser that I got out of Canadian Tire here in Toronto. Let that soak a couple of times in hot water. The degreaser really did a good job. Then I went to methylated spirits, which is in this container down here. Problem is it stinks to high hell. For some reason in Canada we don't get low odor methylated spirits. But even with all of that, there's all this crap in between here that I had to use one of these little brushes. It comes in a set from Canadian Tire. I think they're made by somebody called Frank. I guess it's whoever makes the Frank line of products. You find them in the cleaning section. It's 5 of these little brushes that come different lengths, different thicknesses, but this one is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this back into soak in a container full of rubbing alcohol. If I can get 99%, that would be better, but right now I think all I have is some 90%, so I'll soak this stuff. If you look really carefully, you can see some of this black crap that's here. That's just that leftover residual dirt and that the methylated spirits couldn't get off. So it's a matter of opinion and perspective, but I've already done my bike and I've noticed that my drive chain is silent. And I'm temporarily using White Lightning as a wax until I can get some PTFE shipped to me, powder that I can mix my own in my slow cooker with some regular paraffin wax. And as a hint for those people who say that the wax goes everywhere and you can't get it off, buy a cheap kettle, use hot water, it comes right off. So if you want to make a real difference to your riding and cost a hell of a lot less, wax is the way to go. Anyway, more later. I will actually show you how clean the cassettes are now, and we'll talk more about this later. Okay, so here's a look at my waxed drivetrain. As you can see, nothing on my fingers. A little bit of wax buildup across the chain, but this is just gonna flake off as I ride. Makes a big difference in terms of keeping it clean and keeping the chain from being ground down and all that damage that happens between the links. Now this is an older chain. I'm going to spin this chain off in the next month and put a brand new chain on. My cassette nice and clean, much easier to get any muck and dirt off. This new 1-Up Components chainring, nice and clean, a little bit of wax, which to me is a hell of a lot better than that all that dirt and crap that gets on there from using oil-based lubricants. And I confirmed hot water out of a kettle poured over anything with wax, and you probably buy one of those cheap dollar store colanders, little round things with the holes for straining spaghetti. Put these in that, pour the hot water on it, and out all the grease comes. Sorry, all the wax. Even with hot water, I couldn't get that grease to release fully. So this is the direction that I'm going in. Problem is, even if you get a new bike, it's going to have the manufacturer's grease on the chain. So you're going to have to pull that and the cassette to get the grease off. But I'll tell you something, if you do it before you ride, before you pick up all that dust and dirt, you're going to be so much better off. And even if you have to resort to using white lightning and not going through that whole big wax treatment, I will put a link to the guy who explains how to do the wax stuff down below, and I'll put a couple of pictures of the different wax products out there that work. You will be so much better off. Your chain will last you a couple of 1,000 kilometers, as opposed to, you know, these people who have to change them every season because they get all stretched out, and the this flexion in your chain. You compare this, the amount of bend you can get in a used chain to a new chain, and the difference is amazing. Anyway, video continues. Take care.